Hello and welcome to the Happy Little Futures podcast. I thought today I would tell you a quick story about something that happened earlier this week. My husband has been away all week. It has been incredibly hot and I've had 3 rather frustrated, mixed up and exhausted children. Bedtimes have been really horrible. Bedtimes aren't too bad generally in our house. Little Miss tends to stay up a lot later, fussing and all that sort of stuff. Once the other 2 have fallen asleep, but generally the other 2 tend to settle quite easily. But this week they did not. No child settled easily this week. My youngest is currently weaning off breastfeeding, which is exhausting for me. It's tiring for her. It's all different. There's a variety of reasons why we're having to consider stopping, and I think both of us are a bit emotionally challenged with it. And the other 2 have just been so hot and bothered with everything else. They've obviously been quite frustrated. However, when my husband has been away, most of the time he does bedtimes if he's around, because I'll be working, making up time whilst he's around. But this week, with him not being around, it was me doing bedtimes, which generally isn't too much of an issue. Normally, we have a relatively chilled time after tea. I'll do a bit of a tidy up, they'll have a bit of a play, maybe read some stories, have a bath, and then we brush our teeth, come upstairs, have some stories, and normally the younger 2 fall asleep whilst I'm reading Harry Potter, which is my slightly indulgent bit of self-care at bedtime, where I want to read something that I like as well as their bedtime stories. And Little Miss tends to stay awake and listen to Harry Potter for a while, and then we'll have a quick cuddle in bed, and then she'll go down sort of with time and a bit of higgledy-piggledy faffing normally. But this week, they didn't all fall asleep when I was reading Harry Potter. Instead, we had fights for the potty from the older 2. Littlest Miss couldn't settle on the boob like she used to, so she was a bit fraught and getting upset and frustrated because she was hot and tired and she couldn't get to sleep. And little man was just generally, he's a little bit of a monkey at the moment. He turned 3 in March, and since turning 3 he has been very, very challenging. And so because he was awake and tired and hot and bothered, he was fighting with words, with toys, with whatever he possibly could, as well as the usual hyper Little Miss, trying to battle every inch of bedtime as much as she can. One night, I think it might have been Wednesday, I'd kept everything very calm. I hadn't asked them for help downstairs with tidying, which normally Little Miss sorts out the books, Little Man tidies up the shoes, and Littlest Miss just potters around doing her own thing. But I'd decided, after the few days that I'd had trying to settle them in the heat, I decided I would just get the house tidy. It didn't matter how long it took. The main thing that we focus on is the routine rather than the time that they go up. So I said to them that I would hang the washing out, and then I would come back in, we would brush our teeth, and we would go upstairs to bed, do our normal bedtime routine. I was very proud of myself, because I was also hot and bothered and exhausted after 2 nights of very little sleep. And so I thought, we'll keep it calm. I'll go outside, sort it all out, come back in, and everything will be fine. We'll have a really good evening. But I came back in from hanging the washing out, and I said to them, right then guys, it's time to brush our teeth. So shall we go and get our toothbrushes and toothpaste? And we'll do it in the bathroom. Nice and calm. Very lovely. Except it was like I switched a switch. They all scattered. All of them went completely hyper. They'd been colouring very nicely and very quietly at the table, having a really good calm down session. They went insane. They went really, really crazy. We had fights over toothbrushes, fights over toothpaste, then running around with toothbrushes in our mouths. I had to take some Play-Doh off them. It was an absolute disaster. I kept my cool. I didn't shout. I managed to mitigate a few arguments. I did remove the Play-Doh, which Little Miss wasn't very happy about, and we had a lot of kicking and screaming from her. But generally speaking, we started to go upstairs, and I took a few deep breaths myself as I went up the stairs and went to read them their stories. Again, it wasn't too bad. We found the stories, we were picking them, I read them, I started reading Harry Potter, and they started messing around. Even now, I can't fully remember what they were doing, but they were really, really messing around. They were driving me nuts. I was trying to breathe, I was trying to stay calm, I was trying to keep littlest Miss calm and keep her nice and happy, so that if she did, because she'd tried to feed and hadn't settled, I thought if I kept her calm, maybe she would settle from just the quietness of the book and the moment. But no, it all went wrong. In the end, I was getting very frustrated. I was starting to get a little bit shaky with the frustration, and I went, guys, I'm sorry, I am getting a bit frustrated. I am going to have to sit down on the calm down step. We don't have a naughty step in this house, we have a calm down step. Because everyone goes on about how you shouldn't have a naughty step, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But I feel that they need somewhere to calm down, a safe spot away from the other two, that if they need to calm down, if frustrations are building, they can take themselves away, or I can remove them from the situation and give them some space to breathe. Because when you are one of three in a not massive house and you're all getting up in each other's faces, it is hard to get space to calm down. So I said, I need to go to the calm down step. I said, I'm getting very frustrated. I don't want to shout. I don't want to have a repeat of the past few days where you guys get me angry and I get frustrated. I said, I just want to go and calm down. Please, can you stay in your beds? And I will be back in a minute. So I left them nice and safe in their beds. I had to take littlest Miss with me because she just follows me everywhere screaming at the moment anyway. And I walked into our bedroom and they all followed me. Or the older two both got out of bed and they all came and followed me, and I did end up shouting. I felt guilty about the fact that I'd shouted, but I was so frustrated and I hadn't had that moment to calm down, and I needed that moment to calm down. And isn't that just what happens when you're hot and you're bothered and you're tired and you're exhausted from all the mental strain of meeting everyone else's needs and making sure everything's done on time and you're keeping on top of meals and all that sort of stuff? That is what happens. That's why we have self-care, which is a whole other subject. And anyway, I shouted. I took them back into their bedroom. I got them back into bed. I was chatting to them, and Little Miss said something about something that had happened earlier in the day. Again, I can't remember what now. It was all a blur. And I said to her, I said, right, in this situation, whatever it was, I said, how do you think I felt? Do you think I felt happy or sad? And she said, sad. I said, yes, I did feel sad. And then I said, when I'd been tidying up and you had been playing and I'd been keeping everything nice and lovely for all of us, and then you started running around when I asked you to help me by brushing your teeth, do you think I felt happy or sad? And she said, sad. And I said, yes, I did feel sad. And I continued with a few different scenarios. I told them the stories of what had happened. We'd all been together in those situations. And I gave them a choice as to how I might have felt, happy or sad. And every single time, they could both pick how I would have felt. Which, for one thing, for a 3 and a 4-year-old, shows great empathy and understanding of emotions, which is fantastic. And that's come over time with practice for us. But for another thing, it helped them to see and understand from a slightly different perspective and break down the situation to help them understand in future how I might be feeling. And in the end, I finished off with, when I asked to go on the calm down step so that I wouldn't shout, and you both followed me when I'd asked you not to, I said, how do you think I felt, happy or sad? And they both said sad. And we had a chat, and we had a hug and a cuddle and a kiss, and we settled back down to bed. And they went off to sleep fine then, and it wasn't too bad a night. But the lesson I learned from this, and the thing that I surprised myself with, because even as parents we can surprise ourselves, was that it's okay to tell them that you're not okay, and try to explain to them the situation and try to explain that you need space. It is good to model the behaviour that you want them to learn. I want them to learn that they can take themselves away from situations. When I do put them on the calm down step, I say to them, I can see that you're getting frustrated with the situation, and I feel that you need a little bit of space just to help you breathe and take a few deep breaths so that we can all be friends again and all get on. And I will explain to them how they are feeling and try and put that into context for them, and for them to be able to see how I might be feeling, and for them to be able to see how I need to regulate myself even as an adult, will teach them over time that it's okay to not be okay, and that there are ways for us to manage ourselves and manage our feelings effectively. So it's just a quick one today, and it's just a little bit of a story for you. I just thought I would share that with you. Also lets you know that I am human. Yes, I go on about mindfulness, but I am human. I am a mother that doesn't necessarily keep my cool all the time, as much as we would all love to be. And yeah, just I hope that's something you can relate to, and something maybe you could take away and try with your kids when you're getting frustrated next. So thanks for listening, guys, and I will speak to you soon.